Chapter 2852. Fifth Elder Meow laughed coldly. Meow-ee, do you really think that you can become the Meow tribe's holy maiden? Haha, you don't have that qualification. Well, 5. Great Elder Meow harshly berated, even if young Miss Meow might not become the saintess, it is not something you can make up. Meow-ee's eyes flickered. He quickly hid the cold glint in his eyes. How could she not hear it? Great Elder Meow's words sounded like he was trying to clear her name. But in reality, wasn't he silently agreeing to Fifth Elder Meow's words? She might not necessarily become the saintess? As expected of Great Elder Meow. He even calculated all the possible routes of retreat. Meow-ee sneered in her heart, but her face was pale. She frowned and shrank back. What do you mean by that? Fifth Elder Meow kept laughing coldly. Great Elder Meow maintained his smiling expression. Young Lady Meow, there's no need to panic. We just want to confirm if you have the qualifications to become the Meow tribe's holy maiden. Meow-ee's face darkened. She gritted her teeth. Aren't you afraid that my aunt will settle the score with you? Everything I do is for the sake of the Meow tribe. The saintess will understand me, Great Elder Meow replied with a smile. Meow-ee took a few steps back in disbelief. Behind him he bumped into someone. Second Elder Meow lowered his voice and said, Young Lady Meow, don't be impatient. The holy maiden of the Meow tribe is of utmost importance. I just want to make a final confirmation. As long as you perform well and walk out of the underground world, you will still be the one to become the holy maiden. It sounded like he was advising her to be obedient. Meow-ee struggled to break free from Second Elder Meow's support. She bit her lower lip and glared at the four elders. You all planned this from the start. None of you believe me at all. Meow-ee, who do you think you are? Why should I believe you? You're just a vile spawn born from an outsider who seduced the clan leader. Who do you think you are to be the Meow tribe's saintess? Fifth Elder Meow looked at Meow-ee's pale face and felt a surge of joy in his heart. Previously the anger he had suffered under her and Yi Qing Luo's hands seemed to have found a chance to be vented. Well, 5. Don't say another word. Second Elder Meow glared at Fifth Elder Meow. First Miss Meow is protected by the King of Venomous Worms after all. Even if she's not the Holy Virgin of the Meow tribe, she'll still be the tribe leader. Second Elder Meow glanced at Meow-ee out of the corner of his eye. It was obvious that he had purposely said it for Meow-ee to hear. Obviously, he wanted to use the position of the Meow tribe's leader to appease her. Meow-ee lowered her head. Her fine long hair covered the expression on her face. It also blocked the slight curve of her lips. Indeed, everything was the same as what Qing Luo had guessed. These people were really shameless. He used the excuse that the Meow people were good. He was scheming against her, taking away the position of saintess that should have belonged to her. He even put on a "you should be deeply grateful" attitude, thinking that letting her become the Meow tribe leader was already thinking highly of her. Meow-ee's slender fingers tightened one by one. A low chuckle came from her mouth. The few elders who were still looking at each other were startled when they heard the laughter and looked at Meow-ee. At this moment, Meow-ee had already raised her head. A pair of chilly eyes stared at them coldly. In the tunnel there was no wind. The wind blew her hair away from her face. Chapter 2853. Meow-ee, you're just a vile spawn born from another clan. Letting you be the clan leader is already giving you a lot of credit. Don't be so ungrateful. Fifth Elder Meow was frightened by Meow-ee's laughter, his voice trembling. He was an old man in his 50s. Frightened by a little girl? This was something that Fifth Elder Meow did not want to admit. Immediately, the words that came out of his mouth became even more venomous. If it wasn't for the protection of the King of Venomous Worms, do you really think that you can live until now? You even tried to occupy the King of Venomous Worms and ruin the reputation of the Meow tribe? Let me tell you, if you don't hand over the Goo King today, don't even think about walking out of this tunnel. Well, 5. Great Elder Meow sounded a little angry. Go to the land of the Goo King and tell the people of the Meow Goo tribe that there is one more candidate for the position of saintess. Now the elders have added a competition. The ceremony of the Goo King's inheritance will be postponed to 2 hours later. Fifth Elder Meow was instantly terrified by Great Elder Meow's roar. He stared venomously at Yi Qing Luo, but still listened to Grand Elder Meow's orders, to inform them of this matter. Meow-ee pursed her red lips. According to the Meow tribe's rules, matters regarding the selection of the Holy Maiden must be decided by the Meow tribe's Holy Maiden. I don't think my aunt knows about the addition of a competition. What you are doing is breaking the rules of the Meow tribe. Great Elder Meow's amiable smile froze. He did not expect Miao Yi to be so familiar with the rules of the Miao tribe. Just as the few elders were silent, another pebble was knocked on the rock wall, accompanied by the woman's bell-like laughter. Miao Yi, don't call me aunt, aunt, aunt. Do you think that you can be fearless in the Miao tribe just because you have the saintess as your backing? Don't forget your aunt, she is not from the Miao tribe at all. His voice reminded the elders of the situation, especially when she heard the last sentence. The faces of the three elders immediately turned ashen. Miao Ji was indeed not from the Miao tribe, because Miao Ji was the previous saintess, Miao Shui, who had pushed her to the position of saintess. Miao Ji had indeed done well in the past few years. Because of that, the elders subconsciously neglected Miao Ji's identity. Now he was reminded by the woman. They immediately broke out in cold sweat. He felt that for so many years, an outsider had been in charge of the Miao tribe. If they were not careful, wouldn't the Miao tribe be destroyed by an outsider? The woman laughed maniacally as she walked out from the darkness. The woman was dressed in a jade green dress and looked like a green lotus. When she saw the woman's face clearly, Miao Yi narrowed her eyes and said in a cold voice, "It really is you, Miao Rongrong." Miao Rongrong raised her eyebrows and looked Miao Yi up and down with a smile. "It really is me? So, you already knew it was me? Other than you, who else could have the elders of the Miao tribe come up with such a plan?" Miao Yi met Miao Rongrong's eyes coldly. "What exactly do you want to do? Don't you understand what I want to do?" Miao Rongrong giggled. She looked at Miao Yi with a venomous gaze. Miao Yi's face darkened. Her gaze slowly shifted to Great Elder Miao. "Great Elder Miao, don't you know that she escaped from the dungeon of Xianxia clan? How can a fugitive compete with me for the position of saintess?" Chapter 2854. The meaning behind his words was, whether Miao Rongrong was a fugitive or not, it would be decided after the competition. If she won against Miao Rongrong, she Miao Yi would be the holy lady of the Miao tribe and Miao Rongrong would still be a fugitive. But if she lost to Miao Rongrong would no longer be a beggar. Hearing Great Elder Miao's shameless words, Miao Yi laughed angrily. "It looks like Great Elder Miao doesn't know what conscience is at all. You can even accept a fugitive without any misgivings. This young lady really admires your big face and big heart." Being ridiculed by a junior, Elder Miao was not angry. Great Elder Miao did not get angry. If young Mistress Miao is confident in her own abilities, she would not be afraid of another match. Is this a question of competition? Miao Yi's face was full of disdain. "I am the dignified Miss Miao, the only direct descendant of the Miao tribe recognized by the Gu King. She is a fugitive who would not even let her own father off. What right does she have to compete with me? Why should I give her this chance?" Miao Yi was not at a disadvantage when she started to speak viciously. Moreover, she purposely targeted Miao Rongrong's sore spot. Miao Rongrong felt a tearing pain in her heart from these words. Her face was livid as she gritted her teeth and roared, "Miao Yi, are you afraid of competing with me?" "I am not afraid of a woman who would have sex with her own father," Miao Yi retorted with a sneer. Miao Rongrong's face was even more livid. There was no trace of her previous arrogance. "Since you are not afraid, then compete with me. Do you think that I am someone that can be provoked by any Tom, Dick, or Harry? I look down on someone who would have sex with her own father. Comparing with you lowers my status." Miao Yi continued to sneer as she looked at Miao Rongrong mockingly. You. Miao Rongrong's face was red with anger. Her petite body was trembling uncontrollably. Why was this Miao Yi so sharp-tongued? She had poked at her sore spot again and again. She was just a vile spawn. What right did she have to be so arrogant and act all high and mighty? She Miao Rongrong was the true Miao tribe. A Miao person who could truly become the holy maiden of the Miao tribe. Great Elder Miao, aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by letting this kind of trash become the Miao tribe's holy maiden? Miao Yi looked at Great Elder Miao after mocking Miao Rongrong. Her face was full of mockery. Or should I say, what Great Elder Miao cares about is whether the Miao tribe's holy maiden is of pure Miao bloodline? Miao Yi had directly pointed out his thoughts. The amiable smile that Great Elder Miao had maintained all this time also froze for a moment. Great Elder Miao, why waste your breath on her? I think she's simply afraid of me and doesn't dare to compete with me. Miao Rongrong sneered and puffed out her chest. You're just a bastard, yet you have the nerve to strut around in front of me. You're just a bastard who was born without a father. The coldness in Miao Rongrong's eyes intensified. Miao Yi knew that she had stepped on her sore spot. Didn't she know how to trample on Miao Yi? However, Miao Yi's reaction completely exceeded Miao Rongrong's expectations. Miao Yi's expression did not change in the slightest. She just smiled coldly and stared at her with a face full of mockery and disdain. That's right. A child like you who was born by a mother and taught by a father has been taught to roll around with your own father. Then, after pausing for a few breaths, she shrugged. I don't dare to have a father who can roll around with his own daughter. Miao Rongrong exploded in anger. Chapter 2855. Miao Yi dodged to the side and grabbed hold of Fourth Elder Miao, who was trying to stop her. Then she pulled him hard. Before Fourth Elder Miao could react, he was pulled by Miao Yi and staggered a few steps forward. Miao Rongrong's sharp nails scratched Fourth Elder Miao's face. Ah! Fourth Elder Miao screamed and raised his hand to cover his face. At the same time, Miao Yi loosened her grip on his hand. Fourth Elder Miao's face was scratched by the sudden pull, and he did not even have the time to steady his footing. Miao Yi loosened her grip. Once again his body fell forward uncontrollably. Miao Rongrong, who had scratched Fourth Elder Miao's face, realized that she had lost her composure and scratched the wrong person. She panicked. When Fourth Elder Miao pounced on her, Miao Rongrong did not have time to react. She was pinned to the ground by Fourth Elder Miao. Miao Rongrong's delicate body fell heavily on the ground. There was also an old man's aura pressing down on his body. It was a hard and heavy body. She felt as if her internal organs were being squeezed by something, and she coughed violently. She felt a fishy taste in her throat, and then she spat out a mouthful of blood. Get lost! Get lost! Miao Rongrong roared in a hoarse voice. Fourth Elder Miao's chest was hurting from the woman's impact. He could hear Miao Rongrong's roar. He remembered that half of his face was scratched by Miao Rongrong's claws. Then he heard Miao Rongrong's disdainful tone and how she pushed him away. Fourth Elder Miao's expression turned grim. He raised his hand and pressed it hard on Miao Rongrong's shoulder. Ha! This is really an eye-opener. Suddenly, a girl's crisp voice made the two people who were entangled on the ground stop their movements. The girl's voice carried a faint smile, full of mockery. The girl tilted her head and blinked her beautiful eyes. She smiled at Great Elder Miao and said, So, Great Elder Miao has such a taste. Great Elder Miao has taken a liking to Miao Rongrong not because she's from the Miao tribe, but because she's flirtatious and frivolous enough. It's because she's able to roll around with her own father and accept all of you without any qualms, right? Great Elder Miao's expression turned extremely ugly. He was so angry that his bones were trembling. Miao Yi's words were truly unbearable to the ears. Even Great Elder Miao, who was used to seeing the world, felt his face start to turn red when he heard Miao Yi's words. Miao Yi, what nonsense are you spouting? Miao Rongrong's eyes widened when she heard Miao Yi's mocking words. She shoved Fourth Elder Miao and roared, It's you. You deliberately set me up. You're the one who pushed this old fart onto me. Miao Yi, you're so sinister. The old fart on Miao Rongrong's body. While Fourth Elder Miao was still in a daze, he was pushed aside by the crazed Miao Rongrong. Miao Rongrong did not even look at Fourth Elder Miao. She quickly crawled up from the ground and forcefully wiped away the blood stain at the corner of her lips. Her eyes were vicious and filled with a crazy storm. Miao Yi, you bitch. You want to stop me from becoming a holy lady, right? I want to be a holy lady. I want you to live a hellish life from now on. As Miao Rongrong spoke, her delicate little face was savage and crazed. She roared and raised her hands high in the air. Her messy black hair danced wildly behind her. Vaguely. Chapter 2856. Second Elder Miao hurried over and helped Fourth Elder Miao to his feet. He looked at Fourth Elder Miao's bloody face and the elder robe he was wearing, which was stained with Miao Rongrong's blood. That be *tch. How dare she treat me like this when I've helped her so much? Fourth Elder Miao gritted his teeth as he wiped the blood off his face. Second Elder Miao lowered his voice. That's enough. It's because she's a true Miao. If she can't surpass Miss Miao, we'll just kill her later. That will appease our anger. Fourth Elder Miao angrily flung away his blood-stained hand. His eyes were hazy. If she can't become the holy maiden, I'll skin her alive. At that moment, Great Elder Miao's expression suddenly changed. He shouted, Miao Rongrong, what are you doing? However, Miao Rongrong, who was shrouded in darkness, did not seem to hear Great Elder Miao's voice. She was completely immersed in her own world. Second Elder Miao and Fourth Elder Miao immediately looked in the direction of the voice when they heard it. They saw Miao Rongrong's body twitching as if she had gone mad. Her face, which was exposed from time to time under her messy hair, was twisted with ecstasy. She was so ferocious that she did not look like a normal person at all. The three elders felt a chill down their spines as they looked at Miao Rongrong. Miao Yi, on the other hand, looked calm as she stared at Miao Rongrong's fluttering hair and emerald green robe. After staring at her for a while, Miao Yi tilted her head and said faintly, "Oh? You mean Miao Rongrong's appearance here is a scheme?" After a while, Miao Yi asked in confusion, "What's her motive?" There was silence in the air. The three elders stared blankly at Miao Yi, who was mumbling to herself. When they looked at her again, she was surrounded by a dark aura. Miao Rongrong was extremely strange. At that moment, the three of them looked at each other and couldn't help but shudder. Miao Yi narrowed her eyes and smiled. "So that's how it is. Miao Rongrong is just a pawn." "Miao. Miss Miao. Who are you talking to?" Great Elder Miao forced himself to remain calm as he looked at Miao Yi. Miao Yi raised her eyebrows and looked at the three elders. Her smile deepened as she narrowed her beautiful eyes. She did not answer Great Elder Miao's question. Instead, he seemed to be answering someone's question. "Save them? No. They invited a wolf into the house and are seeking their own deaths. It has nothing to do with me. Why should we save them?" As if she had heard something, Miao Yi giggled. "They did not treat me as a member of the Miao tribe, so I naturally did not need to treat them as my people." After these words were spoken, no matter how stupid the three elders were, he also understood that the them, in Miao Yi's words of saving them, was referring to I them. He looked at Miao Yi's teasing smile. Great Elder Miao's heart sank for a moment. There was an ominous premonition spreading from the bottom of his heart. Strange, it was too strange. This Miao Yi was definitely not playing tricks by talking to herself for no reason. Who was Miao Yi talking to? What did she mean by save? The more Great Elder Miao thought about it, the more flustered he became. He furrowed his white brows and quickly walked toward Miao Yi. "Miss Miao, what do you mean by that? What is this? It's coming?" Chapter 2857. These two words caused Great Elder Miao's expression to change abruptly. He instinctively turned his head. Behind him, the strange Miao Rongrong who was originally standing at the end of the tunnel had stopped convulsing. Her black hair danced wildly behind her, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Her jade-green robe was now wrapped in a black aura. Her hands were hanging limply by her sides. Her whole body seemed to be out of energy. A face filled with a sinister smile was revealed under the long hair. Her delicate face was twisted into an extremely horrifying expression. In this narrow tunnel there were luminous pearls all around. The few elders could clearly see the black gas that kept darting around Miao Rongrong's horrifying face. Great Elder Miao's pupils shrank. What's going on? Miao Rongrong is. They looked at each other. Miao Rongrong was like a puppet that was being controlled. There was no puppet that belonged to her soul. She looked extremely strange. Even the experienced and knowledgeable Great Elder Miao couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. Second Elder Miao immediately recalled Miao Yi's soliloquy, and his expression changed as he quickly walked towards Miao Yi's direction. "Young Miss Miao, you know what's going on, right? What's wrong with her?" Miao Yi looked at Miao Rongrong's direction with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "You've let a wolf into the house, don't you know that this wolf is preparing to eat people?" The faces of the three elders darkened and turned extremely unpleasant. "Still can't tell? The Miao people that you've been thinking about have been completely controlled by another force." Miao Yi didn't care about their emotions as she kindly reminded them. After the three elders saw Miao Rongrong's situation, they indeed thought so. But hearing Miao Yi say it with an incomparably firm tone, their hearts couldn't help but tighten. Controlled? What kind of force could actually control a person? And they hadn't discovered it for so long? "Haven't any of you thought about how she, Miao Rongrong and Miao Yixiong got into that kind of trouble?" offended Dmo Xian, "and was imprisoned in the Qinghua sect's dungeon? How did she manage to escape from the Qinghua sect without attracting any attention?" Miao Yi saw that the three elders were silent for a long time, so she continued to speak on her own. His words caused the faces of the three elders to alternate between green and white for a moment, then red and ashamed for a moment. Jia. Suddenly a strange hoarse laugh rang out in the tunnel. Hearing this made one's hair stand on end. Miao Yi, after following Yi Qing Luo, "That little slut, you've become smarter." That hoarse voice, laughter, was filled with madness and hatred. Miao Yi raised her eyebrows, but there was no fear on her face. "It seems that I was right." Miao Rongrong twisted her body stiffly. Step by step, she walked toward Miao Yi on the black air current. The sinister and twisted smile on her face became even more pronounced. So what if I'm right? From the moment you stepped into this tunnel, I've never intended to let you leave this place alive. Miao Rongrong laughed maniacally as her eyes turned hazy. And you bunch of old farts. I want all of you to die. Go to hell. The three elders were so frightened by the vicious and strange Miao Yi that they took a few steps back, whereas Miao Yi was still standing there. She didn't even avert her gaze. Chapter 2858. Even though Miao Rongrong walked over with a body full of ruthlessness and a body full of black aura, Miao Yi did not react at all. Miao Rongrong's footsteps stopped 3 steps away from Miao Yi. His face was twisted to the extreme. His eyes were empty and filled with hatred as he stared straight at Miao Yi. Kill me? Miao Rongrong, what a pity, you don't have the chance. Miao Yi smiled at Miao Rongrong's gaze. This smile made Miao Rongrong's hatred and anger even more intense. Those eyes that were filled with black mist seemed to be surging with raging flames. No chance? I want to see how long you can be so stubborn. Miao Rongrong roared angrily. She raised her hand and slammed it on the wall beside her. In this narrow tunnel, the earth trembled and the mountains swayed. Gravel rolled down the wall and splashed on the ground. The 3 elders were shocked by Miao Rongrong's sudden craziness, causing their bodies to tense up. Great Elder Miao was the first to react. He forced himself to calm down. Miao Rongrong, this elder has decided to give you a fair chance. Why must you do this to yourself? Chance? Miao Rongrong snorted. She looked at Great Elder Miao with contempt and disdain. Do you think I don't know? Your so-called chance is just to use me to test this little slut's true strength. I just want to know if this little slut is qualified to become the Miao tribe's holy maiden. Great Elder Miao's face turned red. Miao Rongrong had clearly seen through his thoughts. Miao Rongrong sneered disapprovingly. The reason why I became like this, condemned by everyone and ashamed to appear in front of anyone, is all because of you. It's all because of you. I want to take back everything that belongs to me and send all those who harmed me to hell with my own hands. The more she spoke, Miao Rongrong's voice was filled with a demonic murmur. Great Elder Miao wanted to explain. But the current Miao Rongrong had completely fallen into her own madness. Thick black mist was released from Miao Rongrong's body. Following that, a shocking scene unfolded in front of everyone's eyes. The thick black mist was behind Miao Rongrong. Mass after mass, the black gas gradually spread and expanded. In the blink of an eye, the ball of black chi suddenly dissipated. Instead, they were 5 tall and burly men dressed in black robes. Miao Yi's gaze landed on the 5 men's chests and sleeves, when she saw the large U embroidered on them. His pupils suddenly constricted. She frowned. Guards from the Palace of Darkness? Weren't these people wearing the clothes of the Palace of Darkness guards that Yan Jinfei had led yesterday? These people were from Dark Shadow Palace. Dark Shadow Palace. The elders looked at the guards in disbelief, thinking about how strong the guards of Abyss Palace were. Their faces were pale with fear. Miao Yi's expression finally turned serious. Miao Rongrong, you're working with the Palace of Gloomy Shadows? Are you scared now? Miao Rongrong sneered, her eyes filled with madness. Any random guard from the Palace of Darkness is stronger than you bunch of trash. Miao Yi, I'll let you know what's called a fate worse than death. Miao Rongrong laughed even harder. The crazier it was, the black aura in her eyes grew thicker. Chapter 2859. Miao Yi frowned and looked at a place on her shoulder, asking in a low voice, the mastermind is the Palace of Darkness. What is their goal? Miao Yi didn't get an answer. Miao Rongrong was already charging towards her face with the black aura. At the same time, the 5 guards of the Abyss Palace moved as well. They dashed towards the few elders at high speed, facing the attack of the Palace of Darkness guards. The hearts of the 3 elders were instantly filled with shock. They felt a bone-cutting hurricane coming towards them. They wanted to dodge, but they couldn't escape from the aura of the guards. Bang bang bang, a few heavy objects fell to the ground. There were also screams and noises. The few elders slammed into the rock wall in unison. Then they smashed into the ground. The ground was filled with broken rocks. They cried out in pain. After the Palace of Darkness guards dealt with the 3 elders, he immediately turned around and charged in Miao Yi's direction. Miao Rongrong's attack on Miao Yi. Miao Yi didn't have any intention of fighting back, just dodging with all her might. Miao Yi's speed wasn't fast. It definitely wasn't agile. But every time she would be able to dodge before Miao Rongrong's attack landed. After a few moves, the 3 elders were thrown to the ground. Miao Rongrong didn't even touch the corner of Miao Yi's clothes. Miao Rongrong couldn't believe it. This bastard sister, who she had always looked down upon, had actually climbed over her head one day. Miao Yi was obviously a piece of trash. The more Miao Rongrong thought about it, the more resentment she felt. The black energy in his eyes continued to fly about. When the few guards from the dark secluded palace flew over to help, the guards from the dark secluded palace flew over to help. In Miao Rongrong's eyes, all kinds of emotions appeared, and her killing intent swelled in that instant. Miao Yi, go and die. She screamed in a hoarse voice. As she laughed maniacally, she gathered the black energy in her palm and slapped towards Miao Yi's face. No matter how Miao Yi dodged, a pincer attack from all directions, Miao Yi wouldn't be able to escape. Thinking about it, Miao Rongrong's sinister smile became even wider. Ah! Suddenly, a scream pierced through the tunnel. A few of the elders who were lying on the ground vomiting blood forcefully propped themselves up and looked over. However, he saw that Miao Yi was standing there unscathed. There was not a single wound on her body, nor was she messy or disheveled. At this moment, a bewitching red light slowly enveloped the entire tunnel. It was like a protective shield. It wrapped around Miao Yi tightly. The elders were shocked and stared in that direction in disbelief. Only then did he notice. As it turned out, the moment the guards charged at them from all directions, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. A red light suddenly shot out from Miao Yi's shoulder. That red light was like a raging flame, rapidly encircling Miao Yi's body. They formed streaks of red light that looked like burning flames. Miao Rongrong was shocked by this scene. He could only watch as the flowing light that lingered around him slowly turned into a slender figure in front of him. That figure stood in front of Miao Yi. Miao Rongrong's hand that was about to strike down was forcefully held in midair by a force. Kacha! The bones in her wrist were broken. Miao Rongrong only had time to scream. Then, he felt a majestic and tyrannical aura that sent the guards surrounding him flying. Chapter 2860. The light and sweet-sounding laughter was like the ringing of a silver bell. In this narrow and long tunnel, it appeared to be extremely illusory. That laughter was so pleasant to the ears that it made one's heart flutter. But unfortunately, it made one's scalp go numb. Miao Rongrong was the latter. The familiar voice was obviously laughing, but Miao Rongrong could hear the malice in the laughter. Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo. Why are you here? Miao Rongrong stared in horror at the young lady who gradually appeared in the flames. Miao Rongrong couldn't believe her own eyes. She had seen it with her own eyes. The flowing light surrounding Miao Yi was a butterfly fluttering its wings, the size of a palm. Its entire body was like a raging flame, blood red. As it fluttered its wings, it seemed like fresh blood was flowing. It was extremely bewitching and strange. After that, Miao Rongrong saw that flowing light butterfly in front of her eyes, turned into a familiar and horrified figure. Yiqing Luo's appearance. Not only Miao Rongrong was shocked. The other three elders also sat up from the ground in shock. They had even forgotten about the injuries on their bodies. Their minds were filled with Yiqing Luo, who had transformed from a butterfly into a human form. They had seen Yiqing Luo leave with their own eyes. They had also seen Miao Yi, alone, walking into the tunnel. How did Yiqing Luo enter? That butterfly, what was going on? Just as everyone's hearts were pounding in fear and shock, Great Elder Miao's mind suddenly flashed past a thought. He patted the rock wall fiercely. Is this the legendary substitute Gu? Substitute Gu? This name of the Gu art came out from Great Elder Miao's mouth. The other two elders' faces instantly turned pale. They turned their gazes towards Miao Yi. This substitute Gu, it's you. It's you who cast it. Great Elder Miao's tone was filled with obvious cautiousness and probing. Miao Yi took a look at them without even the slightest hope of replying. To these few elders, Miao Yi no longer had any good impression of them. Yesterday they were still arguing about her being a Miao Gu genius. Today, after hearing Miao Rongrong's provocation, she believed Miao Rongrong. From the beginning to the end, this group of Miao people had never treated her as a real Miao person. The only reason why he kept her was because of her talent in Miao Gu. Strength? It was not even comparable to the so-called bloodline. To think that they kept saying that she, Miao Yi, was the real direct descendant of the Dragon King. Such words were truly laughable when compared to what they had done. However, Miao Yi did not reply. Miao Rongrong could not remain calm. Substitute Gu? She was just a waste. How could she know the legendary venomous technique of the Miao tribe? Looking at the entire Miao tribe's history of saintesses, there are probably no more than 3 who can use substitute Gu. Substitute goo. It was a long-lost goo technique of the Miao tribe. This goo technique could use goo worms to transform into the appearance of the substitute goo that the host wanted. This substitute goo was used to refresh one's mind. As one's proficiency in this kind of goo technique increases, the time it can exist will become longer and longer. Especially towards the end, it could even pass off as the real goo. No one could tell who was the real one. However, this kind of goo technique, a long time ago, it had been lost to the world. Even if Miao Yi was a Miao goo genius, it was impossible for her to learn this long-lost legendary goo technique. Chapter 2861. Slut? Miao Rongrong, do you think you have the right to say these two words in front of me? Miao Yi sneered. The bewitching red glow around her gradually dissipated. That young and tender face was filled with coldness. Miao Yi's hands were clenched tightly. This was the anger that came from the deepest part of her heart. After enduring for so many years, today she didn't want to endure any longer. She didn't want her mother to bear the infamy of seducing her husband and giving birth to a vile spawn. She wanted everyone to admit that she, Miao Yi's mother, was the real Madame Miao. The angrier Miao Yi got, the calmer her expression was, like still water. This was what Yi Qing Luo taught her. No matter how her heart was in turmoil, don't express it directly on your face. Once she could see her thoughts from her face, that meant that she was going to lose. Facing Miao Rongrong, she would absolutely not lose. Miao Yi's eyes flashed past a resolute glint. You. What are you looking at? Why am I not qualified? Isn't your mother a slut? Didn't your mother seduce my father and snatch my mother's man? Your mother, that slut, gave birth to you knowing that my mother is here. Aren't you a vile spawn? Miao Rongrong didn't want to admit that she was terrified because of Miao Yi's gaze. She straightened her neck, retorting and questioning. Little by little, the black air flowing in her eyes covered the whites of her eyes. It made Miao Rongrong look extremely strange and terrifying. Miao Yi's lips curled up coldly as she stared straight at Miao Rongrong, saying word by word, Miao Rongrong, these few elders should be the clearest about what happened that year. Was it my mother who snatched your mother's man, or your mother, who knew that Miao Yixiong and my mother were together, still shamelessly sticking to her? Miao Yi pointed behind her, at the row of elders lying on the ground as her smile deepened. It was my mother who got together with Miao Yixiong first. And your mother, merely used her power in the Miao tribe to snatch Miao Yixiong. Speaking of which, I'm a few months older than you. Don't you know who's the bastard here? You. Nonsense. Miao Rongrong's face turned red from Miao Yi's barrage of words. There was no need to ask the elders about these things. Miao Rongrong herself was very clear about this. It was precisely because she clearly knew that she was younger than Miao Yi by a few months. That was why she had used all means to torture Miao Yi since she was young. However, Miao Yi, a good-for-nothing that she had always looked down on, had brought all of this up in the open. Miao Rongrong was about to go crazy. She pointed at Miao Yi furiously. B*TC, you bastard. You even want to frame me, an orthodox Miao. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Beside him, the few guards from the Abyss Palace charged towards Miao Yi. His speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, only a few shadows could be seen. Miao Yi's eyes were cold, but she did not panic at all. He was filled with anger and hatred towards Miao Rongrong. He had already blocked everything that made her afraid and fearful. Miao Rongrong, you haven't even given me an explanation about what happened between us, and you still want to touch the person I want to protect in front of me? A sweet and coquettish voice rang faintly. Chapter 2862. That hurricane was violent and ferocious. It swiftly entangled those secluded palaces' guards. The guards reacted very quickly. The 5 of them immediately spread out to avoid the whirlwind that seemed to have a mind of its own. They were very methodical. After avoiding the initial attack, at the same time they turned around and pounced towards the direction of the hurricane. These actions, they didn't dare to do it in an instant. The exchange of blows between top experts. What they were competing on was speed. The movements of the 5 guards were like puppets. It was impossible to see any difference or flaws in their movements. It was like looking into a mirror. Just at this moment, a sharp female voice was heard, piercing to the ear. Come back quickly. Come back to protect me. Protect me. That voice was sharp and ear-piercing. It was like a sharp blade, cutting one's eardrums. The 5 secluded palace guards who were about to cross hands with the twisting hurricane suddenly froze. Bam bam bam. The hurricane directly twisted around the 5 guards. But what made them surprised was These 5 guards at the moment when they were entangled by the hurricane. Not a single one of them made a defensive action. Instead, they faced those violent hurricanes directly, charging towards Miao Rongrong's direction. It was as though the surrounding sharp blades which kept cutting their skin couldn't feel it at all. In an instant they had already dashed in front of Miao Rongrong. 5 tall and sturdy bodies surrounded Miao Rongrong tightly. Yiqing Luo, who was charging towards Miao Rongrong's direction, had no choice but to stop in her tracks. Yiqing Luo stared at Miao Rongrong's direction, as her eyes sunk slightly. These guards were simply too strange. Just like those 10 over-secluded palace guards at the Miao clan's public square yesterday. It was extremely strange. They didn't seem to be afraid of pain. They were like puppets being controlled by someone else. They only knew how to blindly listen to the instructions. What was even stranger was those few guards' skin had obviously been cut by the hurricane which she created using her profound energy. She saw it with her own eyes. The parts of the guards which were entangled by the hurricane had turned into shreds. That piece of skin. It was also twisted to the point where countless cracks appeared. There were even bits of flesh flying everywhere, and even white bones could be seen. However, there was no trace of blood at all. This was exactly the same as yesterday, when a dozen guards were killed by the second palace master of the gloomy palace with one slash. There was no blood. Unafraid of pain. This was simply, it was like a high-end puppet. The other 3 elders were also scared silly by the 5 guards. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. You guys aren't dead yet, right? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she sized up the injuries on the 5 guards, and at the same time she glanced sideways at the few people lying on the ground. Great Elder Miao's lips had already turned pale, and his breathing was rapid as he coughed violently. Even after holding it in for a long time, he was unable to force out a single word. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as her face was filled with displeasure. However, she did not say anything in the end. Her slender fingers gently swept across her profound phoenix ring. Then he flicked his finger. Something flashed past the eyes of Great Elder Miao and the others. They reflexively received it. They saw a strange colored medicinal pill lying in their palms. This medicinal pill, although the color was very strange. Chapter 2863. What is this? 4th Elder Miao asked in a hoarse voice. This is a miracle pill that can save your lives. What's the point of talking so much nonsense? Yiqing Luo didn't even bother to look at him. After you take this pill, your only mission is to protect Yi. After that, stand further away and don't drag me down. 4th Elder Miao clutched his chest as he gritted his teeth. But he had just spat out one word when he felt his blood rushing up. He who had lost too much blood was in a daze. Don't believe me? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her smile was filled with ridicule. Do you think you can live on just by lying here? The 3 elders' faces turned black. Suddenly, Grand Elder Miao clenched the pill in his hand tightly as he shut his eyes and stuffed it into his mouth. Boss. 2nd Elder Miao and 4th Elder Miao cried out in shock as they tried to stop him. Grand Elder Miao swallowed the pill into his stomach as the hand which was placed on the rock wall clenched tightly. No matter, she's right. We're injured to this extent and we're either going to die. She doesn't need to drug us at this point in time. 2nd Elder Miao and 4th Elder Miao were slightly stunned as they immediately lowered their eyes and looked at the strange colored pill in their palms. After some time, they made up their minds as they speedily swallowed the pill in their hands. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's slightly cold voice was transmitted into their ears. I saved you not because you're worth saving, but I need you to help me protect Yi and bring her out of the tunnel. You can't even do this. I will let you enjoy a punishment that is more painful than what you're doing now. Qing Luo. When Miao Yi heard that, she immediately expressed her attitude. I'm the one who dragged you into the Miao tribe's grudge. How could I possibly leave you behind? Just based on these few people, they can't hurt me. Yiqing Luo replied calmly as she glanced at Miao Yi from the corner of her eyes. You must leave, otherwise I have to divert my attention to protect you. It's too troublesome. Miao Yi was unable to explain this point. Right. Eldest young Miss Miao, even if you stay here, it's also making Miss Yi take care of you. 2nd Elder Miao abruptly stood up from the ground as his complexion was no longer as pale as before. The other 2 elders stood up as well. They looked at their own bodies in disbelief. He raised his hand and waved it left and right a few times. Apart from the faint pain in his internal organs, the wounds on his body were actually healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. They quickly understood 2nd Elder Miao's intentions. 4th Elder Miao added, Young Lady Miao, please listen to Lady Yi. If Miao Rongrong uses you to threaten Miss Yi, we're all finished. Miao Yi's face darkened. She gritted her teeth and glared fiercely at the elders in front of her. He wanted to refute their words. However, he couldn't open his mouth no matter what. Miao Yi knew this very well. With her strength, apart from Gu techniques, there was nothing else she could use. As for Miao Rongrong and the 5 guards, the Gu technique was obviously useless. If she stayed here, she would only drag Yiqing Luo down. Let's go. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her eyes were filled with smiles, appearing very calm. Miao Yi gritted her teeth and quickly retreated to Great Elder Miao's side. Trying to leave? Miao Rongrong cried out sharply, once you enter this tunnel, none of you will be able to leave here alive. I will absolutely not allow anyone to stop me from ascending to the position of Sacred Maiden. Chapter 2864. Miao Rongrong knew that Yiqing Luo's favorite thing was to capture the ringleader first. She didn't dare to leave the protection of the guards. She only dared to send one guard to stop her. That guard received the order. With a stretch of his body, he had already turned into an afterimage as he charged forward. The guard's speed was very fast. But Yiqing Luo's speed was obviously faster. The guard's movement towards Miao Yi was obstructed and stopped. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tangle with the guard. She took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring. The blade of the dagger shone with an extremely cold glint. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she raised the dagger and speedily stabbed towards the guard's arm. That dagger was deeply embedded into the guard's flesh. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes, as she carefully sized up the deep wound which she had made on his body. The flesh was bloody and the muscles and bones were distinct. But there was no blood. There was no blood oozing out from the huge wound on his arm. He also did not see the shadow of blood flowing in the wound that had been cut open. The flesh was red. It was indeed red. But there was no trace of blood at all. Qing Luo. Suddenly, Miao Yi's voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo retracted her thoughts as she turned her head back. She saw the 3 elders pulling Miao Yi's arm as they retreated towards the other side of the tunnel. Yiqing Luo was still entangled with the secluded palace's guards. How could Miao Yi possibly leave in peace? Just like that, she was dragged along by the 3 elders. Grand Elder Miao saw that there was no other way as she lowered her voice and warned, if you continue to drag on, Miss Yi will be fighting for time for you to leave. Don't tell me you want to see Miss Yi waste her efforts? Sure enough, this sentence made Miao Yi immediately stop struggling. Just before she left. Looking at Yiqing Luo's slender and frail but filled with boundless energy, creating numerous legends. Miao Yi felt her eyes turning warm as she subconsciously called out Yiqing Luo's name. I'll wait for you to come out. And I'll wait for you. Aunt and the Overlord are waiting for you. Miao Yi's lips turned slightly white as she said each word in a hoarse voice, but it was extremely serious. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she nodded. Miao Yi took a deep breath, clenched her fists and turned her head. It was as if he was afraid that he would not be able to resist the urge to stay. Miao Yi walked very quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared at the corner of the tunnel. When the 3 elders saw that Miao Yi was finally willing to leave, they all heaved a sigh of relief and quickly prepared to follow. Wait. The girl's unique sweet voice was mixed with a hint of coldness. It caused the bodies of the 3 elders to stiffen. Now, do you understand the situation? Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her sharp gaze looked at Grand Elder Miao. Should you understand, who should you trust? Great Elder Miao knew. Yiqing Luo was reminding him to place all his thoughts on Miao Yi. His expression changed slightly, and he glanced in Miao Rongrong's direction. To be honest, before this, his intention was indeed as what Miao Rongrong said. He only wanted to make use of Miao Rongrong, to investigate Miao Yi's real ability, to probe if Miao Yi was really qualified to become the Miao tribe's sacred maiden. But now, from the looks of Miao Rongrong and Secluded Palace's relationship, it was obvious that they were on good terms. Chapter 2865. Great Elder Miao's thoughts couldn't help but to think a little more. Miao Rongrong, this person, although she was scheming and had a bad reputation. But if they could make Miao Rongrong stay in the Miao tribe, for example, Miao Yi as the sacred maiden, Miao Rongrong as the clan leader. In this way, not only Yiqing Luo's forces could be pulled in steadily. Secluded Palace's forces could also be pulled in. Great Elder Miao's mind had imagined his own plans and intentions countless of times. But he had never revealed it on his face. He had not expected, but Yiqing Luo could see through it at one glance. Great Elder Meow immediately kept his thoughts. Of course, we have always been on eldest Miss Meow's side. These words, ask yourself, do you believe it yourself? Yi Ching Luo exposed him immodestly as she sneered, don't try to get any benefits from Miao Yi. The benefits you want, you can get more from me. She paused for a moment, and her charming eyes curved into a demonic arc. She looked at Miao Rongrong and the guards who were not moving at all and sneered, let me give you a piece of advice, you can't have your cake and eat it too. This sentence was filled with a strong sense of warning. It was also an obvious message to him. If he still had any designs on Miao Rongrong, she would choose to bring Miao Yi away directly, not caring about the Miao tribe. Great Elder Miao's brows twitched as he spoke anxiously, Miss Yi, don't worry, we will absolutely protect eldest Miss Meow with our lives. Eldest Miss Meow is our Meow tribe's only sacred maiden, our only hope. Yi Ching Luo retracted her gaze, not even bothering to look at those few elders as she refocused her attention onto Miao Rongrong. The conversation between Yi Ching Luo and Great Elder Meow. It sounded like a long period of time had passed. But in actual fact it was just a short period of time. Miao Rongrong heard Yi Ching Luo's unbridled words to Great Elder Meow as the anger in her eyes burned even more vigorously. She clenched her teeth as she trembled with anger. No one can stop me. None of you can leave. Miao Rongrong stared venomously at Yi Ching Luo as she commanded the other guard beside her, chase. Chase that slut back for me. No one can leave the tunnel. No one can. Yi Ching Luo's eyes sunk slightly. Miao Rongrong, if you don't explain things clearly, don't even think of letting you and your bunch of dogs leave. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved his 5 fingers. A red feather fan that was bewitching like fire appeared on the tip of her finger that was jade white like jade. The devouring flame fan moved. The flames rolled up and turned into tongues of flame. The strong, profound energy followed the tongue of fire and continued to surge. It was a series of oppressive attacks. It was also extremely swift and fierce. The guard didn't even have the chance to chase after him. Yi Ching Luo's 5 fingers retracted as the glower flame fan rolled up a frenzied surge of profound energy. Gravel flew around the tunnel. In an instant, the tunnel that they came from was sealed. Do you want to die here with us? Miao Rongrong had not expected Yi Ching Luo to use such a method to stop the guards from chasing after Miao Yi. They sealed off the tunnel. They weren't the only ones who couldn't give chase. Even she herself had no way of getting out. A glint of jealousy flashed past Miao Rongrong's eyes. She was jealous of Miao Yi for having such a Yi Ching Luo who was willing to risk her life to save her. Chapter 2866. Who do you think you are? Are you even worthy of me to accompany you to be trapped here to death? Yi Ching Luo ridiculed without any restraint. Miao Rongrong's eyes were filled with black mist, like a dense black fog. The overwhelming black aura had already engulfed her entire body. It was like a bloody mouth had been opened wide. It swallowed Miao Rongrong. However, Miao Rongrong was not aware of it. His mind was filled with a crazed killing intent. Miao Rongrong, you set up a xian. Just based on this, even if you die 1,000,000 times, it won't be enough to make up for what you have done. The minute Yi Ching Luo thought of the centrifugal worm and love worm in Dmo Xian's body, her heart was filled with uncontrollable rage. She then thought of Dmo Xian's attitude towards her when he switched to the centrifugal force Gu mode. Yi Ching Luo even had the intention to kill Miao Rongrong. Ah! I knew it, I knew you were just putting up a front. The Overlord is indeed poisoned. After Miao Rongrong heard Yi Ching Luo's words, she started laughing maniacally. Laughing and laughing, she suddenly widened her eyes which were suffused with black qi as she stared straight at Yi Ching Luo, as her red lips split into a treacherous and chilly smile. Even if he's poisoned by the love goo, the first thing he sees is you, so what? The centrifugal force goo will slowly devour all the love he has towards you cleanly. He will no longer love you and in the end, under the devouring of the centrifugal force goo, he will kill you. As Miao Rongrong spoke, she had already imagined the scene in her mind. The more she thought about it, the more Miao Rongrong's fear and unease were gradually replaced by ecstasy and pride. I heard that a month ago His Majesty abandoned you. That wasn't a misunderstanding like you said, it was the effect of the centrifugal parasite. Miao Rongrong said venomously, her pitch-black eyes were suffused with an eerie chill. Even someone as strong as an overlord can't escape the corrosion of the goo worm, Yi Ching Luo? So what if you kill me here today? The relationship between you and the overlord will never return to the past. Miao Rongrong's complacent and savage laughter reverberated in Yi Ching Luo's ears. Yi Ching Luo's slender fingers curled up bit by bit. Her delicate body tensed up at this moment. She suppressed the rage in her chest. She knew that Miao Rongrong was trying her best to provoke her. Once enraged, the strange black aura on Miao Rongrong's body would have a chance to enter. Moreover, once she showed her anger, she would not be able to control herself. Miao Rongrong would only laugh even more wildly. What? Are you speechless now that I've seen through you? Miao Rongrong laughed as she hid behind the guard. After staying silent for some time, Yiqing Luo didn't open her mouth to refute. Unknowingly, it made Miao Rongrong felt that she had poked Yiqing Luo's sore spot. Immediately, his mouth became even more arrogant. Yiqing Luo, I even know the secret on you. I know why did the Overlord fell in love with you. And also know the reason why you were able to become the hero of the West Continent, defeating the dark forces. Miao Rongrong seemed as though she had grasped numerous secrets as she looked at Yiqing Luo complacently. Unexpectedly. It was precisely because of Miao Rongrong's words. This caused Yiqing Luo to regain her senses from her rage. Yiqing Luo's emotions at this moment had been controlled. She frowned slightly, her face was filled with a stern and cold aura as she stared coldly at Miao Rongrong. What do you know? Chapter 2867. Profound Jade Heart. These three words pounded heavily in Yiqing Luo's mind. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly trembled as her eyes widened at this moment. Miao Rongrong had been observing Yiqing Luo's expression. After seeing Yiqing Luo's expression, she immediately smiled like a blossoming flower. She was right. She had really caught hold of Yiqing Luo's weakness. With this weakness in her hands, wouldn't Yiqing Luo have to obediently bow down to her? Thinking of this, Miao Rongrong's smile became even more arrogant as it was filled with delight. Yiqing Luo, do you really think that no one knows about your profound jade heart's secret? The Overlord fell in love with you because of that profound jade heart. You were able to defeat the dark forces and banish them. It's all because of that profound jade heart's power, right? Miao Rongrong spilled out everything that she knew in one breath. After she finished, she proudly puffed out her chest. Are you very surprised that I know your secret? Do you want to know why I know your secret? Too bad. I don't want to tell you. Miao Rongrong's words reverberated in Yiqing Luo's mind over and over again. She carefully thought about Miao Rongrong's words. Gradually, her tightened heart relaxed. The astonished expression on her face slowly turned into calmness like still water. Are you done? Yiqing Luo remained silent for a long time. When she opened her mouth again, her voice was cold, like the frost in the winter, without any emotion. Miao Rongrong's smile stopped abruptly. The complacent smile on her face also froze for a moment. It was almost her body's instinct. Miao Rongrong speedily went back to those few, standing like statues, unmoving behind the guards. You don't try to pretend to be calm. You can't lie to me. She stuttered as she stuck out her head, trying to boost her courage. To tell the truth, I'm really not pretending to be calm. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Where did you hear all these messy news from? Miao Rongrong's eyes flashed slightly, thinking that Yiqing Luo was trying to be brave. After all, Yiqing Luo's expression earlier had already explained everything. Yiqing Luo's secret was the profound jade heart. There was no mistaking it. Miao Rongrong snorted coldly. Yiqing Luo, continue to put on a brave front. Wait till I spread the secret of your profound heart jade. I'll see how you can continue to pretend to be calm. Then tell me, what big secret do I have? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a frivolous smile as her charming eyes flowed with radiance, without a hint of panic or any other emotions. It was as if he didn't care about Miao Rongrong's so-called secret. Seeing Yiqing Luo in this state, Miao Rongrong's heart instantly lost some confidence. She tried hard to calm her racing heart and took a deep breath. She needed to calm down. She could not fall into Yiqing Luo's trap just like that. Yiqing Luo was so sinister and cunning. This must be Yiqing Luo's scheme. Those secrets which she had heard regarding Yiqing Luo were absolutely not fake. Miao Rongrong continuously brainwashed herself. Your profound heart jade is your secret. That profound heart jade of yours isn't a normal profound heart jade at all. The smile on Yiqing Luo's face deepened, but she didn't say a word. She only stared at Miao Rongrong, smiling very calmly, whereas Miao Rongrong, who was filled with fear and uneasiness and gradually losing her confidence, totally didn't notice, in Yiqing Luo's eyes, that flash of gloomy profound meaning. As expected, just as she had guessed. Chapter 2868. I also know that you are able to freely use your profound heart jade because, because of the heart-calming beat in your body. Miao Rongrong seemed to be afraid that Yi Qing Luo wouldn't believe her, so she specially added a sentence. This sentence made the deeper meaning in Yi Qing Luo's eyes become even more intense. What she could confirm now was that Miao Rongrong knew that her profound heart jade was not ordinary. But she didn't know where her profound heart jade was different. It looked like Miao Rongrong should have heard about her profound heart jade from somewhere. Or perhaps, someone had specially told Miao Rongrong some news about her profound heart jade. No matter which of these two guesses, she became vigilant. After all, there were already people who knew about her profound heart jade. They even knew about the heart-calming bead. Once the news of the divine phoenix profound heart jade leaked out, with her current strength, there was absolutely no way to deal with those cultivators who were filled with ambition and wanted to become stronger. And there was a possibility that it would implicate DMO Shen and the people around him. The person who knew about the divine phoenix profound heart jade in her body, who was it? That person, how much did he know? This point, she had to dig it all out from Miao Rongrong's mouth. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were slightly cold. The hurricane in the tunnel blew her fine black hair messily onto her face, covering all the emotions on her face. She didn't know if it was because of the chill from the hurricane, or because Yi Qing Luo's imposing manner was too terrifying. Miao Rongrong only felt an indescribable cold current gushing out from her entire body. It made her entire body tremble uncontrollably. What a pity. Yi Qing Luo gave a low laugh and slowly raised her head. Her fine black hair scattered, revealing her devastatingly beautiful face. She was smiling. Her charming eyes were filled with ridicule. Such an important secret is known by you, do you think? I will still give you a chance to leave this place? Yi Qing Luo said as she shook her head. Her face was filled with helplessness as she looked at Miao Rongrong with extreme sympathy. Speaking of which, since you already know such an important secret of mine, shouldn't I also ask you a few questions so that it's only fair? Yi Qing Luo's words and sentences had intentionally emphasized on the words, important secret. His tone was filled with obvious mockery. His attitude caused Miao Rongrong's confidence to dissipate further. The smug smile on Miao Rongrong's face slowly faded away. His pupils dilated little by little. His face turned pale bit by bit. These guards are the guards of the Dark Abyss Palace. Even the so-called emissary of the Dark Abyss Palace can't order them around, but you can order them around. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she gave a cold arc of ridicule. This means that the person who collaborated with you to swap you and Miao Yixiong out is from the Palace of Darkness, right? Miao Rongrong fluttered her eyelashes nervously. She clenched her fists tightly on the guard's body. As for the guard who was caught by her, he did not move at all as he stood in front of her. The wounds on his body, which had been twisted by the hurricane which Miao Rongrong had created earlier, had expanded because of Miao Rongrong's tight grip. The guard did not move at all. It was as if he couldn't feel the pain. Yi Qing Luo's vision shifted away from that guard's wound as she already had a guess in her heart which she was trying to put into practice. Chapter 2869. Yi Qing Luo's every word was inching closer to the truth. After all, Miao Rongrong was still too young. She only felt her entire body turning cold, as though all the secrets in her heart had been seen through by Yi Qing Luo. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's nonchalant and calm look, all the complacency and arrogance she had earlier could no longer rise. Her heart was filled with uneasiness and fear. Yi Qing Luo took in all of Miao Rongrong's expressions. This also meant that her guesses were basically right. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as the smile on her lips grew wider. She slowly took a step forward. Miao Rongrong was so frightened that she screamed as she hid her entire body behind the guard. Yi Qing Luo stopped in her tracks. She stared straight at Miao Rongrong as her head drooped down slightly. The strands of hair by the side of her cheeks drooped down, covering half of her face. Only faintly revealed that her lips curled up slightly, emitting an endless cold glint. It obviously looked like she was smiling. But Miao Rongrong could clearly feel a shapeless pressure and murderous intent eroding her internal organs. Miao Rongrong was terrified. She wanted to scream and order the guards to stop Yi Qing Luo. But when the words reached her mouth, she couldn't make any sound. She actually lost her voice from fright. Obviously, Yi Qing Luo didn't look much older than her. But she could feel that aura which made her unable to breathe. Over at the Palace of Darkness. And I can be considered as old friends. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly as her eyes curved. Only such a dumb person like you would sacrifice your own soul, to become a chess piece of the Palace of Darkness, to become their food. Yi Qing Luo's hoarse voice carried an undetectable bewitchment, which was extremely alluring. As expected, Miao Rongrong's eyes, which were filled with terror, was gradually tainted with a layer of shock and bewilderment. Yi Qing Luo's voice became even softer, as though she was hypnotizing. You're actually very clear that after cooperating with the Palace of Darkness, if you can't become the sacred maiden, then you don't want to die, right? If you don't want to die, I can let you off. Boundless fear and that innate pressure from Yi Qing Luo's aura field. Miao Rongrong's heart had already been crushed, coupled with Yi Qing Luo's faint guidance now. In that instant, the fear of death in his heart rose to a peak. In Miao Rongrong's eyes, the black aura swirling around was surging bit by bit. It was as if countless black holes had formed vortexes in her pupils. Who was it that wanted to make use of you and deliberately fabricated the words about the profound heart jade to deceive you? Yi Qing Luo saw that the opportunity had arrived and immediately asked in a low voice. Miao Rongrong's eyelashes fluttered. Her lips parted stiffly and with great difficulty. She enunciated each word clearly. I eavesdropped. I eavesdropped on the conversation between that emissary and someone known as the Holy Technique. They said. Miao Rongrong continued, the softer the sound, until the last word fell. In her eyes, the surging black mist suddenly began to move at high speed. Endless black aura wrapped around Miao Rongrong. Miao Rongrong let out a painful cry. My eyes. My head. My heart. Miao Rongrong raised her hands stiffly. One moment she was pounding her head. The next moment she was pressing hard against her eyes. Then she was pressing hard against her heart. Her face was filled with pain as she screamed at the top of her lungs. Chapter 2870. She was still not sure what kind of power this black aura was. If he touched it lightly, it was inevitable that he would be devoured. Or perhaps they were affected by the black gas. Yi Qing Luo also understood that this black chi's sudden rampage. It was probably to stop Miao Rongrong from saying more things that were detrimental to the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Of course, with Miao Rongrong's position in the Palace of Darkness, he was unable to reveal any particularly useful information. However, there was some news. He could also deduce some things. For example, the person that Miao Rongrong mentioned, who was known as the Holy Technique. The first name that flashed through Yi Qing Luo's mind was the Wolf Saint Technique. That envoy should be Yan Zhenfei. Back then, Yan Zhenfei had left the Western continent with the Wolf Saint Law. However, what made Yi Qing Luo curious was the relationship between the Wolf Saint Technique and the Palace of Gloomy Darkness a partnership, or a relationship of building a force together? Yan Zhenfei was an emissary of the Gloomy Palace in name but without any real power. This initially made Yi Qing Luo suspicious. The Wolf Saint Technique's position in the Palace of Seclusion wasn't considered high. But when that person who had the same looks as Yi Qing Qian, but didn't seem to have any memories of Yi Qing Qian, appeared and overturned all of Yi Qing Luo's guesses. To be able to make that person the Vice Palace Master of Gloomy Palace. This was enough to prove that the authority of the Wolf Saint Technique should be greater. Yan Zhenfei was just a chess piece in Wolf Sacred Technique's hand. The person that the Wolf Saint Technique truly cared about should be the second Palace Master. Now the only thing he could be sure of was the Dark Nether Palace and the Dark Forces were on the same side. After fusing with each other. As a result, the Dark Organization's forbidden skills were even more exquisite than before. As for the relationship between the Sacred Wolf Technique, the Dark Forces, and the Dark Palace, he could only wait for Jun Qingwu to come back from the upper realm to find out. Just as Yi Qing Luo was deep in thought, that black fog-like aura had completely swallowed Miao Rongrong. At this time, Miao Rongrong's entire body was emitting a strange black mist. Miao Rongrong's eyes couldn't see anything but an endless darkness. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a slight arc as she fixed her gaze on that lady who was filled with a strange aura, as though she was ridiculing her as she scoffed. Since you've already offered yourself, why don't you reveal your true self directly? Controlling a useless trash's body as a puppet, aren't you looking down on me too much? Miao Rongrong had a domineering aura, black chi surged wildly, a pair of pitch-black eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo's direction. His lips, which were shrouded in black mist, moved slightly. The voice was hoarse and sharp, and it was hard to tell if it was male or female. Just as Old Wolf said, she's a smart girl. I really can't let my guard down at all. The voice came from Miao Rongrong's mouth. However, it was clearly not Miao Rongrong's voice. Miao Rongrong slowly walked out from behind the guard with a dark aura. I thought I could still pretend to be this puppet and have some fun with you. After all, it's rare to see such a fun toy like you. His dark red mouth let out a cruel sneer. No matter. I'll bring this toy of yours back. I'll definitely be able to play to my heart's content. This puppet is too useless. Yiqing Luo's vigilant eyes flashed slightly, as though she was secretly scheming something in her heart. Chapter 2871. Bring her back. The three words Miao Rongrong made Yiqing Luo's heart moved. If she followed this person who controlled Miao Rongrong to the secluded palace, perhaps she would be able to understand more clearly about the secluded palace. But the secluded palace was obviously very strange. Moreover, from the guards of the secluded darkness palace as well as their recent actions, the secluded palace's ability was definitely very strong. This wasn't like the last time when she followed Wolf's technique to the Dark Forces base camp. This secluded palace, as compared to the Dark Forces base camp, was obviously 1,000 times more advanced. In the Dark Forces base camp, if it wasn't for the activation of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade's protection mode, she would probably die in the hands of the King of Darkness. She had promised Dmo Xian. Promised those people whom she cared about, not to put herself in danger again. She slowly closed her eyes and suppressed the thought that rose up in her mind. No way. She couldn't do this. In Dmo Xian's body, there were still centrifugal goo and love goo, these two goo worms. She wasn't sure when Dmo Xian would switch modes. If she left the Miao tribe, if Dmo Xian's love goo acted up and he couldn't find her, it would cause the love goo's backlash. More importantly, Dmo Xian's cure was extremely urgent. She had to see with her own eyes that Dmo Xian was safe and sound before she could be at ease. Young lady, why aren't you speaking? Old Wolf said that you have a lot of guts, so you shouldn't be afraid of this puppet of mine, right? Miao Rongrong saw Yiqing Luo not speaking for a long time, as an eerie laughter was heard. Yiqing Luo frowned as she looked at the black qi which was swaying. Miao Rongrong. From this person's voice and tone, Yiqing Luo could judge that this was an old man who was at least 50 years old and above. And his gender was male. And he was definitely someone in the secluded palace who specialized in controlling puppets. His status in the secluded palace wasn't low. Controlling puppets. This person shouldn't be from the dark forces. Other than using profound yin qi to control people's hearts, it was absolutely impossible for them to attach their own consciousness onto the puppet. What's your motive? Yiqing Luo slowly opened her mouth. Miao Rongrong laughed evilly and shook her stiff head. Because you are a very good toy. I like you as a toy. I will treat you well and let you become a very fun toy. Fun. Secluded palace had racked their brains to make a move on me, trying to capture me alive. Do you think that the people above you will allow you to turn me into a toy? Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly as she didn't think much of it. Miao Rongrong was startled. After a while she let out a cold laugh. You really have a sharp tongue. You're a good toy. I'll bring you back first. When the palace master doesn't need you anymore, I'll turn you into my toy. The hoarse, strange, androgynous voice kept repeating the same words. It made one's hair stand on end. Do it. I have to bring you back. If we're late, it'll be troublesome. That hoarse and sharp voice muttered to herself, can't be troublesome. Too troublesome, it will consume too much mental power. Just as Miao Rongrong finished her words, those guards behind her whose robes were tattered and covered in wounds suddenly charged towards Yiqing Luo. Chapter 2872. Yiqing Luo's fingertips moved. The glower flame fan opened up. Without any hesitation she went up against those guards. Her motive was not to defeat those guards. She was very clear that the guards from Secluded Palace were unkillable monsters. Unless someone from Secluded Palace would take action personally. Otherwise, even if these guards' limbs were chopped off, they would definitely be able to stand up and attack her. Tangling with the Secluded Palace guards. In the end, she would only deplete all her profound energy. The motive of her tangling with the Secluded Palace guards was to make Miao Rongrong lower her guard so that she could find the connection point to cut off Miao Rongrong's black qi. As long as that person was unable to control the puppet Miao Rongrong, then she would not be able to control these Secluded Palace guards. She had to leave the tunnel as soon as possible. Otherwise, Miao Yi would not be able to complete the final recognition ceremony of the King of Venomous Worms' inheritance in peace. It would also implicate the Miao tribe into the Secluded Palace's matters. After a few rounds, Yiqing Luo started to find it strenuous under the encirclement of the 5 secluded palace guards. Yiqing Luo's advantage was her speed. But this tunnel was originally a convenient passageway to the King of Venomous Worms' land. It was extremely narrow. 5 tall and sturdy guards. A lady chasing after her. Yiqing Luo was unable to display her footwork freely. Miao Rongrong could tell that Yiqing Luo's footwork was slowing down as she laughed sinisterly. Her profound energy is about to be depleted. Increase your speed and attack her lethal point. Seeing Yiqing Luo tangling with the 5 guards, Miao Rongrong stood at the same spot, releasing a steady stream of black fog. The thick black fog turned into strips of black lines. Behind the 5 guards, Wu Qi's eyes flashed. Just as Miao Rongrong gave her command. All of a sudden, the black aura around the 5 guards dissipated, forming black ripples. Following that, the 5 guards' speed suddenly became extremely agile the moment the black qi dispersed. The profound energy fluctuations around them kept increasing in speed. While Yiqing Luo was displaying her footwork, her peripheral vision kept sizing up the guards behind her, as well as Miao Rongrong's actions. Her eyes dimmed slightly and the expression on her face was unprecedentedly grave. Damn it. This place was narrow to begin with, so it was not easy to make a move. These monsters could even increase their speed in an instant. Moreover, it wasn't just the speed that had increased. Their attack power and mystic rank seemed to have increased by a few levels. One had to know, Yiqing Luo was now a sky-profound grade-strong exponent. After reaching the sky-profound realm, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to advance to the next level. The guards of the gloomy palace fought her to a draw by relying on their unkillable and painless skills. These guards were at least at the earth-profound realm or even the sky-profound realm. But in such a short period of time, consecutively rising several ranks? Was it because of the power provided by the strange black fog? The disciples who had joined the Nether Palace were all talking about the so-called method of rapid advancement. Was it because of this strange black fog? What a dense evil aura. Suddenly, a voice filled with disdain rang in Yiqing Luo's mind. The moment Yiqing Luo heard the voice, her eyes lit up. Old man Song, you're awake? Ever since she passed the 3rd floor of the Purgatory Tower. Chapter 2873. Because Yiqing Luo's power had increased greatly. As Yiqing Luo's blood packed with the Azure Dew bracelet, it would be able to expand its power and upgrade. An old man Song as the artifact spirit of the Azure Dew bracelet, would also be in deep slumber, upgrading together with the Azure Dew bracelet. I'm not looking at you for a moment and you've created a huge disaster for me. Old man Song reprimanded in shock. What a dense evil qi, what have you provoked? People from the Palace of Darkness. Yiqing Luo quickly avoided a guard's attack. Old man Song, do you know what kind of evil art this is? Palace of Darkness? Old man Song had heard of the rise of the Palace of Darkness. What kind of power is it? Even if the King of Darkness came personally, he wouldn't be able to create such a dense evil qi. The attacks of the Palace of Darkness guards were obviously much more ferocious. Yiqing Luo was unable to divert her attention as she was communicating with old man Song. After a few more moves, Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan drew out a wind blade and directly cut off the nearest guard's arm. The arm fell onto the ground. The wound was bone white. There was still no trace of blood. That guard's face didn't seem to show any signs of pain. He didn't even bother about his severed arm as he attacked Yiqing Luo once again. This is the skill of controlling corpses. Old man Song's incredulous voice was transmitted into Yiqing Luo's ears. Yiqing Luo was stunned by these 3 words and couldn't react for a moment. Her shoulder was slapped hard by the guard who pounced on her. Yiqing Luo's face turned pale as she swiftly retreated a few steps. The other guards hurriedly rushed forward to attack as well. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and suppressed the pain from the palm on her chest as she quickly executed her footwork. Because of the injury. It could also be due to exhaustion. Her petite figure turned into a red shadow as she speedily moved between the guards. They were all narrowly avoided by the palm wind that brushed past them. These things are all corpses, you can't beat these monsters. Old man Song saw this and his tone became even more anxious. Under such dense evil qi, old man Song couldn't easily show himself. Not to mention that once old man Song appeared and helped Yiqing Luo to block the attacks from the 5 guards, would the source of the demonic qi be able to detect old man Song's identity, thus exposing the matter of the Azure Dew bracelet? It was this dense demonic aura. It would cause great harm to old man Song. In the midst of flying and roaming, Yiqing Luo's breathing became more and more hurried. She remained vigilant while the guards attacked. At the same time he replied in his mind, I have also guessed it. These guards are actually puppets. Judging from the fact that these guards didn't feel pain or bleed, and that they obeyed his orders like puppets, Zhang Xian could tell that these guards didn't feel any pain or bleed. Yiqing Luo had already guessed it. These guards were puppets without souls. Corpse controlling technique, controlling corpses as an evil secret technique in battle? Little girl, don't waste your energy struggling. Miao Rongrong personally witnessed Yiqing Luo being struck by a palm and couldn't stop laughing. Surrender obediently, not only will it save you energy, I will also be gentle and treat you well, gently. Nicely. What? Her laughter was filled with a cold and evil aura. It was hoarse, sharp and ear-piercing. My semi-finished products don't know how to have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. Every time they leave a wound on your body, their own yin qi will invade your body from your wound. Chapter 2874. Yiqing Luo's face sunk when she heard this. She could clearly feel the chill that was constantly eroding her chest. But she didn't expect. This chill came from the puppet's yin qi. Yiqing Luo paused and lowered her eyes. She looked at her wound. Only to see the place where she was hit by the puppet, a very faint, unreal black qi was revolving and lingering in front of her chest. Bit by bit, it moved towards her wound, trying to drill into it. She raised her hand and pressed on her wound. This black qi didn't have the chance to erode her body. It was blocked by Old Man Song's Azure Dew Bracelet's enchantment. However, the chill brought about by the black aura still caused her delicate body to tremble slightly. That's good, it's good to surrender, don't have to suffer, won't hurt, your perfect body? The ruthless voice was full of complacent sneer. Miao Rongrong's eyes were glued to Yiqing Luo's body without any concealment, as if sizing up the perfect toy that belonged to her. Under that kind of gaze for a long time, Yiqing Luo only felt the hair on her body stand up, sticky and disgusting. It was also because Yiqing Luo suddenly stopped. Miao Rongrong was too confident. She didn't let the 5 puppets continue to chase Yiqing Luo. Instead, they surrounded Yiqing Luo in a corner of the rock wall. Yiqing Luo didn't have any escape route to choose. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was surrounded by the 5 puppets, looking at her pale face and holding her chest, unable to move, Miao Rongrong's bloodthirsty heart was beating fiercely. She was excited. A strange, perverted sense of excitement filled his body and mind. Luo last, this group of monsters can't be beaten or killed. Whether it's fire or water or even smashing this group of monsters, it can't stop this group of monsters from obeying orders. Old Man Song continued solemnly, so we must cut off the source that controls them. Source. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes and fixed her gaze on the 5 puppets that were only one step away from her. These 5 puppets only needed to lift their hands slightly. He could subdue her at any time. Yiqing Luo had grasped the mentality of the person who was manipulating in the dark. He also knew that someone as arrogant as Miao Rongrong had absolute confidence in her puppet. In Miao Rongrong's eyes, she was just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It was precisely because of Miao Rongrong's arrogance that she was able to take a breather and discuss with Old Man Song how to deal with the situation. She steadied her mind and carefully stared at the black aura behind the 5 puppets that was connected to Miao Rongrong. If his guess was correct, the 5 puppets' strength had increased significantly after Miao Rongrong's appearance, and they were still improving. It was all because of the yin qi. This should be the source of the 5 puppets. As long as he cut off the connection between Miao Rongrong and the 5 puppets, she could easily take away Miao Rongrong's life. However, Miao Rongrong might be arrogant, but she was also very careful. Whenever she wanted to get close to Miao Rongrong, she would be blocked by the 5 puppets in advance and counterattacked. How could she cut off this source? She had to hurry. Chapter 2875. Thud, thud, thud. Suddenly the sound of hurried footsteps rang out in the tunnel. Then, 5th Elder Miao's annoyed and impatient voice rang out. I've already informed the 2 judging elders. They value that bitch Miaoyi's talent very much. They wouldn't agree to our suggestion no matter what and insisted on barging into the tunnel. 5th Elder Miao's figure turned from the front. The 2 judging elders are too difficult to deal with. I can't stop them. They'll probably be here soon. How's your competition going? He did not notice that the atmosphere in the tunnel had changed. He even walked briskly to Miao Rongrong, whose back was facing him. Meow Rong Rong, you promised me that you'd definitely win the competition with that bitch Meow Yi. Don't make me bet on the wrong thing. As he spoke, he raised a hand and placed it on Meow Rong Rong's shoulder. Crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking was extremely clear in the tunnel. Fifth Elder Meow screamed and pulled his hand back. He wailed in pain. Meow Rong Rong. You bitch, how dare you hit me? He cursed angrily and held his arm. He gritted his teeth and glared at the person in front of him. At this moment, Meow Rong Rong had already turned around and looked at him. Fifth Elder Meow saw clearly Meow Rong Rong's pitch-black eyes that were full of black aura and had no luster at all. All his curses were stuck in his throat. His eyes kept widening. His expression of fear and shock tightened bit by bit. You're not Meow Rong Rong. Who are you? Fifth Elder Meow stammered, his voice trembling. Meow Rong Rong's pitch-black eyes glanced at Fifth Elder Meow indifferently. You're so inferior. You're not even qualified to be a test subject. Get lost. Don't get in the way. The hoarse and sharp voice was like a saw that rubbed against Fifth Elder Meow's eardrums. Fifth Elder Meow was a hot-tempered person. After being humiliated by Meow Rong Rong, his face turned red and livid. His face immediately turned red and ashen, and he slapped Meow Rong Rong's face. You overestimate yourself. Meow Rong Rong sneered. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with cold killing intent. At the same time Fifth Elder Meow appeared. When Yiqing Luo heard Fifth Elder Meow's voice, her eyes instantly lit up. Her charming eyes flickered slightly as she stared at the 5 puppets surrounding her stiffly because they didn't have any orders. This is the chance. Old Man Song immediately said. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips. She was truly blessed by the heavens. Just a moment ago she said that she couldn't find an opportunity to cut off the source. At this moment the opportunity presented itself to him. With Fifth Elder Meow as bait, Meow Rong Rong's attention was attracted. Just give her a few breaths of time. She would definitely be able to cut off the source of Meow Rong Rong's control over the puppet. As for Fifth Elder Meow, he lived up to everyone's expectations and displayed his extremely brainless skills. Meow Rong Rong turned around and looked at Fifth Elder Meow. Now. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold as a few wisps of murderous intent flashed past her charming eyes. All of a sudden, her figure swayed. His speed was so fast that not even his afterimage could be seen. Then a sharp, hoarse scream sounded from the tunnel. Break. Yiqing Luo clenched her glower flame fan tightly as her pink lips spat out this word. The glower flame fan was like a ball of burning flame. Her fingertip flicked. Chapter 2876. Swish, that wave of black chi was suddenly slashed into 2, giving off an extremely ear-piercing explosive sound. Meow Rong Rong was stunned, until a burst of powerful and oppressive profound energy came right at her face. She then reacted. She turned her head, her eyes filled with malice as she looked at that young lady who was emitting a bewitching red glow, under the sky full of black chi dazzling. She wanted to retreat. But her body knocked onto Fifth Elder Meow who was also in a daze. Bam! An extremely powerful profound energy heavily crashed onto Meow Rong Rong. Along with Fifth Elder Meow who was behind, under the powerful force, flew out, crashing heavily onto the rock wall. Dong dong dong. Both of their bodies fell onto the ground, rolling several rounds. Ah, bang, bang. I'm dying of pain. Watch. Fifth Elder Meow cried out miserably, drawing in a breath of cold air, flopping on the ground. Meow Rong Rong, who was by the side, was stiff like a puppet controlled by Mithria, swaying as it stood up. A blood-stained jade-green robe hung loosely by the side of her body. Damn toy. How dare you hurt my toy? A hoarse ear-piercing voice with a little hazy was spat out from Meow Rong Rong's mouth. Meow Rong Rong's body was suspended in mid-air, swaying as it floated towards Yiqing Luo's direction. His body was stiff, his eyes were dark, and his face was expressionless. No matter how one looked, it looked like a puppet without a soul. How could it be so fast? How could it possibly escape from my semi-finished product's encirclement? Meow Rong Rong kept muttering to herself. Hiss hiss. Just at the instance when Meow Rong Rong floated over, the black chi which had been severed frantically swam. It rubbed against the air, giving out a scalp-numbing sound. Unceasingly, it wanted to surge towards Meow Rong Rong. How would Yiqing Luo allow these yin chi to return back to Meow Rong Rong? She narrowed her eyes as the glower flame fan in her hands quickly opened. One after another, wind blades flew toward the ball of yin energy. Yiqing Luo had listened to Old Man Song's suggestion to create the wind blades and had gathered the power of the Azure Dew bracelet and the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. What's more, each of Yiqing Luo's wind blades were precisely aimed at the most sensitive part of the Yin Chi's movement. In just a moment, the countless strands of Yin Chi had already scattered into a ball. Boom. At this moment, Miao Rongrong, who was originally floating in the air, fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. The black aura around her body dissipated in an instant. The entire tunnel returned to a deathly silence. The surrounding aura also gradually returned to calmness. Old Man Song carefully sensed the surroundings. After confirming that there was no response from the evil aura, he said, "It's gone, the evil aura has disappeared." Yiqing Luo heaved a long sigh of relief. She pressed her chest and glanced sideways at the 5 puppets who were still standing at the same spot, stiff and motionless, like a stone statue. Her eyes deepened. Without the supply of Yin Chi, these puppets have lost the ability to move. This palace of gloom, creating these puppets, what on earth are they trying to do? Just as she was deep in thought, wanting to discuss this question with Old Man Song. From the other end of the tunnel, a few impatient voices were heard. Eldest young Miss Miao had passed through all the checkpoints yesterday, even the sacred maiden had already acknowledged eldest young Miss Miao. What more are you trying to do? Chapter 2877. At the other end of the tunnel, 2 white figures hurriedly walked over. The 2 of them were dressed in Miao tribe's elders' attire. This attire was different from 5th Elder Miao's. Both of their chests were embroidered with a big judge word using silk thread. Weren't these 2 the Miao tribe's judging elders? When the 2 of them turned the corner, they saw the scene in front of them. All the hurried curses stopped at the side of their mouths. Left judge elder stood in a daze amidst the flying gravel. A young lady dressed in a fiery red dress like a fairy. And by her feet, was a young lady dressed in a jade green robe. What was going on? Wasn't it said that it was a competition? Where was eldest young Miss Miao? Where were the other elders? Why did it look like a fierce battle had just happened? Right judge elder's vision was quickly attracted by those few tall and sturdy puppets at the corner. Right judge elder cried out in shock. This tunnel, how could someone who isn't from the same clan enter? The 2 judging elders exchanged glances and immediately walked towards the direction of those unmoving puppets. Before they even got close, they heard the young lady warning them, "If you don't want to die, don't touch those puppets." The 2 judging elders stopped in their tracks. The young lady's tone was very calm. Moreover, no matter how one listened to his words, they felt extremely arrogant. This made the 2 judging elders more or less unhappy. But very quickly, their attention was attracted by Yiqing Luo's last 2 words. Puppets? What puppets? Left judge elder turned his head and looked at the young lady who was wiping the glower flame fan. Yesterday, where did you place the guards who were dealt with by the secluded palace's 2nd palace lord? The question that left judge elder wanted to ask was once again stuck in his throat. He moved his mouth, looked at the young lady's calm face. After a long while, he still swallowed his words, replied, word by word squeezed out from between his teeth, thrown to the Miao tribe's cremation site. Those Miao tribe guards who carried the secluded palace's guards, are they still alive today? Yiqing Luo naturally heard the displeasure in the judging elder's tone. But she had no intention to chat with them. The most important thing was to ask what he wanted to know first. "Miss Yi, what do you mean?" Judge Zhuo frowned. "This is the Miao tribe's private tunnel. Outsiders are not allowed to step into this place." "Miss Yi, why are you here? Also, where's Miss Miao?" Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. "Yi and the other 3 elders have already left the underground tunnel. As for the reason why I'm here, Yi will tell you later." She explained casually and continued, "The Miao tribe might not be peaceful in the near future. Elders, please hurry and investigate if the Miao tribe guards who carried the guards from the Palace of Darkness are all right. As for the 5 puppets here, use your special Miao tribe barrier to seal them." Hearing Yiqing Luo's unperturbed manner, as she impolitely ordered one thing after another, the corners of the 2 judges' mouths twitched. Although Yiqing Luo was able to treat the Miao tribe as her own force and they were extremely happy to do so. But, Yiqing Luo's performance, had she totally treated herself as a Miao clansman? Instruct these high-ranking elders of the Miao tribe. Elders was squatted down wanting to help 5th Elder Miao up. 5th Elder Miao grabbed Elders was outstretched hand with one of his hands. Sticky blood-stained Elders was hands and body. Elders Wu frowned even more. He was about to push Fifth Elder Miao away, but Fifth Elder Miao grabbed him even tighter. You don't believe that witch. She wants to destroy our Miao tribe. She wants to destroy us. The elder who was the judge was about to push him away when he stopped. He frowned and asked, "What do you mean?" Chapter 2879. Fifth Elder Miao's words made the two elders' expressions sunk instantly. The right elder's vision immediately shot towards Yiqing Luo, whereas the young lady who was being stared at had a harmless look, just like a thorn, allowing them to size her up. Not at all bothered by what Fifth Elder Miao said. Fifth Elder Miao saw the two elders' gazes, as they had already turned towards Yiqing Luo. In order to make the elders believe his own words, Fifth Elder Miao pressed hard on his chest, so painful that his face turned pale as he frowned tightly, putting on a pained look. "She's just an outsider. I've been in the Miao tribe for so many years, surely I wouldn't take the Miao tribe's safety as a joke? After I informed you that eldest young Miss Miao was going to take part in the last round of competition, I rushed back. The minute I returned I saw her. She instructed those 5 people to forcefully suppress eldest young Miss Miao and the other 3 elders as they walked over there. By the time they returned, eldest young Miss Miao and the elders had already disappeared. I wanted to chase after them, but they had completely blocked that tunnel, completely." Fifth Elder Miao said it as though it was the truth. He even stared at Yiqing Luo with extreme hatred. He clenched his teeth as he continued to pain. "If you don't believe me, then look over there." Fifth Elder Miao pointed to the ground at Miao Rongrong, who was lying in the rubble facing the ground. "The person lying there is Miao Rongrong. She killed Miao Rongrong and even wanted to kill me to cover up her own crimes." The left elder's white brows creased tightly as he stared at Fifth Elder Miao for a long time. Following that, he exchanged glances with the right elder. The right elder stood up as he walked towards the young lady dressed in jade green dress, who was lying on the ground. Before he got near, he heard that young lady's chilly voice. "I advise you, don't touch that woman. If anything happens, I won't be a busybody." The right elder's footsteps halted as he stared at the young lady, his eyes filled with doubt. "Did you see that? She's feeling guilty. She's still trying to scare us, not daring to let you investigate Miao Rongrong's corpse." Fifth Elder Miao seemed as though he had caught something that could convict him as he roared agitatedly. This roar shook his internal organs as he felt a wave of intense pain. He coughed violently. However, he was in a good mood. The right judge elder did not believe Fifth Elder Miao's words. But that didn't mean that he would believe Yiqing Luo. That person on the ground, he had to be investigated. However, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't look like she was joking or was trying to scare people. The elder on the right pondered for a moment. Suddenly he swept his sleeve. Then he raised his hand, bit his finger, and dripped a drop of blood. A black parasite the size of a fingernail darted in Miao Rongrong's direction. The goo worm drilled into Miao Rongrong's body. Not long after, Miao Rongrong was lying motionless on the ground. Suddenly he staggered and stood up. "Stand straight, don't move," the elder on the right ordered. That jade-green figure was still desperately swaying. It seemed to be very difficult to maintain balance. His footsteps were light as he stepped on the ground randomly. Slowly he steadied himself. His head, which was hanging low, slowly lifted up. A familiar yet ferocious face appeared from the messy black hair. "Hide to the right." A calm voice was heard from the side. The elder on the right subconsciously moved a step towards the right. Swoosh. Chapter 2880. Right Judge Elder only felt a gust of chilly air brushing past his cheek. Bam! In the tunnel there was a tremor. The ground exploded and a huge deep pit appeared. Dust billowed and the remaining might was still shocking the air. Right Judge Elder was so shocked by this scene that his back was drenched in sweat. If that voice hadn't reminded him earlier, if he hadn't shifted his feet to the right in time, this burst of energy would directly hit him. The one who turned into a deep pit would be his body. The pupils of the elder on the right constricted. What's going on? Left Judge Elder swiftly put down Fifth Elder Miao and rushed towards Right Judge Elder. It's Miao Rongrong, her eyes. Right Judge Elder had a lingering fear as he stared at Miao Rongrong, who was standing still. What's wrong with her eyes? Left Judge Elder held him up. It's black. Completely black from her eyes, a burst of energy. Right Judge Elder couldn't believe it. If he didn't listen to Yiqing Luo's words and went to check on Miao Rongrong, what would be the consequences? He suddenly remembered the calm voice that warned him just now. Wasn't that Yiqing Luo's voice? Right, Judge Elder's heart tightened as he stared intently at Yiqing Luo. Miss Yi, what on earth is going on? Then you have to ask, the one whom the few elders have been pining for, the one who has the pure Miao bloodline, Miao Rongrong. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at Miao Rongrong, who was controlled by the goo worm, as she scoffed. She's not dead? Right, Judge Elder. Because of the episode earlier, his scales had gradually tilted towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's lips curled meaningfully. Not dead, but she's not far from death. Not far from death? Left Judge Elder's brows creased tightly as he stared at Miao Rongrong's gaze as it flickered. Miao Rongrong. After all, she was the sacred maiden candidate whom they had the highest hopes for. Since young, it was because of Miao Rongrong's innate talent and Miao Yixiong's special nurturing of Miao Rongrong. Towards Miao Rongrong they were rather fond of her. After so many years their feelings were right there. Now looking at Miao Rongrong's miserable ending, he felt a little sad in his heart. Elders of the judging panel, do you really believe the words of that demoness? This was all part of her plan. Don't fall for it. When fifth elder Miao saw that the judging elders didn't take his words to heart, his hatred towards Yiqing Luo grew even deeper. He clenched his fists tightly and continued to smear the name without holding back. If we allow this demoness to do as she pleases in the Miao tribe will soon be invaded by the power behind this demoness. They had lived together in the Miao tribe for decades. Fifth elder Miao also knew the personalities of the two judges. He also knew how devoted they were to the Miao tribe. He immediately described the future of the Miao tribe in an extremely serious manner, trying to create a sense of crisis in the judging elders. But unexpectedly, a girl's lazy voice sounded beside his ear. Oh? The power behind it? Fifth elder Miao felt that the voice was like a stream of ice-cold water flowing into his body. His entire body was trembling. However, there was no chance for him to retreat now. Chapter 2881. The eyebrows of the two judges furrowed into wrinkles. They looked at fifth elder Miao with a complicated gaze. Then they looked at Yiqing Luo with a complicated gaze. To tell the truth, these two people, although one was from the same clan, but from fifth elder Miao's usual conduct and character, they only believed 30% of fifth elder Miao's words. As for Yiqing Luo, although she was an outsider, but through yesterday her attitude towards Miao Yi and the way she spoke and did things, most of it could tell her character. As compared to fifth elder Miao, they were more inclined towards Yiqing Luo. However, fifth elder Miao didn't see through this point. Seeing the two judging elders not speaking for a long time, thinking that they were shaken by his words, he struck while the iron was hot. This demoness schemed against Miao Yi and the Miao tribe. It must be to expand the power behind her. The judging elder was about to open his mouth, but he heard a pff sound interrupting the judging elder's words, interrupting fifth elder Miao's words. 3 pairs of eyes followed the sound, looking towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms as she tilted her head lazily, smiling extremely peacefully. Fifth elder Miao's meaning is, the imperial palace is interested in the Miao tribe? Her voice was very soft, with a trace of undetectable ridicule. When the two words imperial palace came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth, fifth elder Miao's face, swish, turned pale. The judging elder immediately reacted as the gaze he shot at fifth elder Miao had a subtle change. Right. Yiqing Luo's backing was not only the so-called the World Mercenary Group, the so-called Heavenly Academy. There was also a powerful invincible backing, the Overlord. What she represented was the Imperial Palace's power. If the Imperial Palace wanted to invade the Miao tribe, was there a need to scheme? Was there a need to find helpers? No. There was no need. She wanted the Miao tribe, or even the northern continent. As long as DMO Xian took action, nothing was impossible. Fifth elder Miao's face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and it also proved that what he had just said was all nonsense. No, it's not like that. You're a witch. You're shameless. Elder Miao Wu panicked when she saw the judging elders looking at her with contempt. Fifth elder Miao knew this very well. From the very beginning he had been opposing Miao Yi. His relationship with Yiqing Luo wasn't pleasant at all. Once Miao Yi became the holy maiden, there was a possibility that Miao Yi would listen to Yiqing Luo's suggestion and take action on him. So, things had come to this. He could only choose to erase the Dark Knight. As long as Yiqing Luo fell from power, That useless Miao Yi wouldn't be able to stir up any waves. In the end, they would only end up as pawns in the hands of their elders. However, he had neglected one thing. Not only was Yi Qing Luo extremely arrogant and mischievous because of her powerful ability. Behind her was His Excellency the Emperor, the first palace of Nirvana realm, the Imperial Palace. I'm shameless? How am I shameless? When Yi Qing Luo heard what he said, she felt that it was ridiculous as she squinted her eyes and smirked. You scoundrel who uses beauty to serve others. You only know how to use His Excellency the Overlord's power to commit crimes. If His Excellency the Overlord isn't behind you, backing you up, who do you think you are? Fifth Elder Miao was agitated by Yi Qing Luo's contemptuous smile as his eyes turned red instantly as he clenched his teeth and cursed. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.